History in a month. That's the focus of tonight's angle. 1 month of Trump 2.0 in a whirlwind of success.
Okay, that solves that problem.
Today, senior White House staff gave a quick recap.
The president has already signed 73 executive orders. That is more than double the number signed by Joe Biden and more than quadruple the number signed by Barack Obama over the same period.
Thank you all for joining today our 1 month celebration of the most historic opening to a presidency in American history. He has ended all DEI across the federal government, terminated all federal workers involved in promulgating these unlawful policies. He has restored merit as the cornerstone of all federal policy.
And if you're a criminal alien terrorizing Americans or an NGO that's been profiting off our open borders, your life over the past month suddenly got a lot more challenging. Deportations are sending a strong message of deterrence. And Biden streamlined 15 million illegals, remember, into the country, paroled millions more. So Trump, look, has his work cut out for him. But day by day, they're making a lot of progress. And much more is being planned, including legal action against mayors who insist on protecting criminal illegals. So don't interfere with Ice Ice Baby.
I'm happy the numbers are up. I'm happy with the results so far. I am not satisfied. I will not be satisfied till every gang member, every illegal alien gang member, every illegal alien public safety threat and national security threat is eradicated from this country.
More on this coming up later in the show. But seriously, you just got to love the media reaction to the last month. Trump has reshaped everything from the workings of America's federal government to its relations with allies and foes overseas. From its approach to war and peace to its stances on trade and foreign aid, he shows no sign of slowing down. And Axios says Trump's exceeding the wildest dreams of his supporters and the darkest nightmares of his detractors, conceding that Trump is historically popular. Of course, what actually has their heads spinning is the return of basic accountability to D.C. Because for decades, progressives have benefited from wasteful federal grants that fund radical agendas on race, on gender, and open borders. But those days, they're over.
We've got this truly absurd, a do not pay list, which can take up to a year for an organization to get on a do not pay list. We're talking about terrorist organizations, we're talking about known fraudsters, known aspects of waste, known things that do not match any congressional appropriation.
This is why they hate Elon Musk. The gravy train is coming to a screeching halt.
He has undertaken a historic cost-cutting effort across the federal government, uncovering corruption on a scale that we never thought imaginable, and already saving $50 billion in a single year, which over a 10-year period would be $500 billion. Just think about how vast and enormous that sum is.
You know the song, Who Let the Dogs Out? Well, every day, liberals have been running to court to keep the Doge out and the illegals in. But the results of their lawfare have been mixed. Nevertheless, Democrats are slowly getting back on their feet, but are they really convincing anyone?
Why does our own government want to turn against our own people? It's a scandal. It's a disgrace in 2025. A rally a day keeps the fascists away, okay?
Meanwhile, Trump is in a great mood. Much to the horror of the war hawks, he's pursuing peace in Ukraine.
We can make a deal with Russia to stop the killing of, potentially additional millions of people. The soldiers are being just wiped out on both sides. Wiped out. It's horrible.
And today was even sweeter when his nominee to head the FBI, Kash Patel, not only won confirmation, but all of Trump's cabinet nominees have been confirmed. Now, it's not just the GOP that's more united and changing. The country seems to be changing, too.
Donald Trump and the Republican Party has changed the electorate. Let's take a look at party identification, Democrats versus Republicans. You go back to 2017, 5 points more of the electorate was Democrats than Republicans. Look at what's happened in February of 2025. Look at this. Republicans, there are more Republicans in the electorate than there are Democrats. Republican +2.
30 days in, and Americans are grateful, including at the White House today at a celebration for Black History Month.
Mr. President, it has been an honor of a lifetime to support you, to try to wake up as many people to the lies of the Democrat Party and the nonstop manipulation of the mainstream media. We pray for you, we continue to pray for you, and we're thankful for your service and your sacrifice.
We love you all. We're going to work with you. We're going to make America greater than ever before. We're going to do it together.
It's only 1 month, and anything can happen. But I am extremely impressed by Trump's team, their discipline, their devotion to the America First agenda. Now, of course, there are going to be bumps in the road. No one can be perfect. And I'm keeping an eye on how they deal with China, but I am very optimistic. Now, in the coming months, we're going to hear a lot of vicious accusations from the left, a lot of he's a dictator type garbage. We're going to see frivolous lawsuits. There's going to be some setbacks from activist judges. But for now, like you, I'm just thoroughly enjoying every day because this is history, my friends. And that's the angle.
Watch out. Elon's got a chainsaw.
This is the chainsaw for bureaucracy. Chainsaw!
And get ready, D.C. You're next in line behind Canada.
I think that we should govern District of Columbia. It's so important, the D.C. situation. I think that we should run it strong, run it with law and order, make it absolutely flawlessly beautiful. And I think we should take over Washington, D.C., make it safe.
D.C. got their first mayor in 1975. Before that, Congress controlled the Capitol. Now Trump wants it, which would make him the first mayor president ever, unless Stephen Miller wants to be the Duke of Washington. Musk satisfied with merely being tech support, and if Musk fails, so does America.
You know, I grew up in South Africa, but my morality was informed by America. I read comic books, you know, played Dungeons and Dragons, and I watched American TV shows, and it seemed like America cared about being the good guys, you know, about doing the right thing. And that's actually pretty unusual, by the way. And so I was like, yeah, you know, you want to be this good, you want to be on the side of good, you want to care about what's right.
Elon and the Brainiacs, sounds like a band, have been given unfettered access to the government's back office. Doge is in God mode, and there isn't anywhere they won't go.
We do want to look. I mean, we hope everything's fine with Fort Knox, but we're going to go to Fort Knox, the fabled Fort Knox, to make sure the gold is there.
Where would the gold have gone?
If the gold isn't there, we're going to be very upset.
And Big Balls is going to Ukraine.
It's also time to find out what happened with all the money, because he made the statement that half of it he doesn't know where it is or something like that. And I'd like to find out all the money that we've been sending to Ukraine, where is it?
Doge is sniffing around Ukraine, Fort Knox, the IRS, the Pentagon. I think it's pretty obvious now why they wanted Trump dead or in jail. And the CIA is on the clock for releasing files on JFK, RFK, and MLK. So get ready for some March Madness. Stacey Abrams is about to get doged. Right after she lost her last election, she started a climate group with a bunch of other people. You know, if you're a Democrat, gotta have a climate charity. Well, it started out with just $100. Couldn't raise a penny. Then Biden comes in and voila, they donate $2 billion to this brand new group. What does Stacey Abrams know about the climate? She's an erotic thriller writer who lives outside of Atlanta. Has Stacey Abrams ever even gone hiking? I don't know. She just doesn't strike me as a nature enthusiast. Did Stacey Abrams plant any trees with the money? Did she pick up any litter? Well, we can't find any evidence that this group did anything for the climate. Trump's guys are trying to claw back the cash, but that is a lot of money. And this is how the game works. Democrats launch 501c3s. Their friends in D.C. send them our money, and then they hire their cousins, pay all themselves fat salaries, and use the money to travel first class, of course, to climate summits and pay Al Gore to speak at their events. Everywhere you look in Washington are deals like this.
Waste is pretty much everywhere. People ask, like, how can you find waste in D.C.? I'm like, look, it's like being in a room, and this target, the wall, the roofs, and the floor are all targets. So it's like you're gonna close your eyes and go shoot in any direction, because you can't miss, you know.
Elon's showing up with a chainsaw and he's holding D.C. hostage to get your money back, and Trump loves the idea.
Elon Musk is proposing potentially giving money to Americans based on what Doge is finding. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I love it. A 20% dividend, so to speak, for the money that we're saving by going after the waste and fraud and abuse and all of the other things that are happening. I think it's a great idea.
How much money do you think
Could be a lot. I mean, if it's 20%, we'd give back a lot of money to the taxpayer. And also it would give an incentive for the taxpayer to go out and report things to us where we can save money.
Democrats are saying, not so fast. That's not your money. That's our money.
President Trump says he likes the idea of giving some of the savings from Doge back to Americans as kind of a dividend. Would you support that?
No, we are not in the business of giving out money. And honestly, I don't know what $5,000 will do for you if you are unable to find a job, because I am telling people we are headed towards a recession.
The Democrats saying $5,000 won't do anything for you are the same ones who said your house just burned down in Maui. Oh, here's $750. Crockett used to love checks.
Crap for them daggone stimmy checks. That is my message.
Right.
Because again, I just explained to you the co-equal branches of government.
Right.
It was Nancy Pelosi who was running the House at the time, not Bag of Mike, but Nancy. It was Sister Nancy.
Right.
You need to thank Nancy.
We had to print money to send out those checks. With the Doge stimmy, we don't have to. It's a rebate check. They took it from you and you're getting it back. People in North Carolina, the Pacific Palisades, Maui, they could use a check right about now. Even the bureaucrats who were laid off could use the rebate. But this little senator, not so young Sheldon, says giving Americans back their own money is a crime.
I would analogize this to a smash and grab robbery. And speed is to your advantage when you're the smash and grab robber. And doing as much destruction as you can quickly is to your advantage when you're the smash and grab robber.
Now they care about smash and grabs. Shelley Shell did the smash and grab himself. He taxed you, said he was going to build roads and bridges here, and then just gave Juan a sex change in Guatemala. We didn't vote for sex changes in Guatemala. Joe Biden never campaigned on that. Congress sent COVID money to a school in California. They said, screw hand sanitizers and new laptops. They spent $400 grand renting out a Major League Baseball stadium for graduation. For social distancing, maybe, I don't know. There it is, Angel Stadium. These people don't care how hard you work to make that money. They'll just waste it like that. No respect.
People ask me, what's the most surprising thing that you've encountered when you go to D.C., when you're in D.C.? And I said, well, the most surprising thing is the scale of the expenditures and actually how easy it is to, when you add caring and competence where it was absent before, you can actually save billions of dollars, sometimes in an hour. They really lack empathy for the average taxpayer who's working hard, paying taxes, and then they say, oh, $1 million doesn't matter. I'm like, I think it matters a lot.
The only thing Primetime's discovered where we said, okay, well, you know what? This probably had an impact, these Doge cuts so far. So far, there were longer lines to get into a few national parks. And the locksmith got laid off at Yosemite, and someone got locked in the bathroom. So it took them a while to get out. How do you get locked in the bathroom? Never mind. Americans are getting laid off all the time in the private sector. Mass layoffs. The Washington Post just laid off 4% of its workforce. Are fired writers being interviewed on 60 Minutes? No. Southwest Airlines just laid off 15% of its workforce. And that's like the one airline that hasn't crashed. What's the difference? Well, the left thinks government workers are more important than workers in the private sector. They believe government workers do more for the country, and the country couldn't survive without them. So this is a test, all right? If Doge kills America, I was wrong, and I'll admit it. But if next year America's still here, the left owes me an apology. We'll just add it to the list. Their new hoax is that now Musk is a Putin puppet.
People like sometimes like
to end this war.
Say like,
yeah.
You know, I'm a bought asset of Putin.
Yeah.
I'm like, he can't afford me.
Yeah. I think you're worth more than Russia.
Think about it.
You can't buy the richest man in the world, and that's what drives Democrats nuts. Can't buy him, can't shame him, can't cancel him. You can't debank him. And the world's richest man is teamed up with the world's most powerful man. Now Trump has the Secret Service. He should be in good shape. We hope, we pray. But Democrats are making things dangerous for Elon. The other day, a Tesla dealership was vandalized. Pam Bondi just launched Operation Whirlwind. And anyone slinging threats at Elon will be held accountable. Chuck Schumer's already gotten letters from the Justice Department. There's nothing tyrannical going on here. And if there is, that's what we pay lawyers for. America's heartthrob, Stephen Miller, gave the press a civics lesson. Listen.
It is true that many of the people in this room for 4 years failed to cover the fact that Joe Biden was mentally incompetent and was not running the country. It is also true that many people in this room who have used this talking point that Elon is not elected fail to understand how government works. So I'm glad for the opportunity for a brief civics lesson. A president is elected by the whole American people. He's the only official in the entire government that is elected by the entire nation. The whole will of democracy is imbued into the elected president. That president then appoints staff to then impose that democratic will onto the government. The threat to democracy, indeed the existential threat to democracy, is the unelected bureaucracy of lifetime tenured civil servants who believe they answer to no one.
Trump can hire whoever he wants. It's not like Biden, who flew his son all over the world in a government jet and shook down foreign nationals for access. Elon has a nose for this. He's a computer science wizard, a turnaround artist, and he's pretty good with numbers.
I'll tell you a lesson I learned at PayPal. You know who complained the loudest, the quickest and the loudest and with the most amount of righteous indignation? The fraudsters. That's who complained first, loudest, and they would generally have this immense overreaction. That's how we knew they were the fraudsters. That's how we knew. There's the tell.
And welcome to Hannity. And tonight we are nearing the end of a transformational month in the Washington swamp. Now, to say President Trump hit the ground running hard, that would be one of the greatest understatements of all time. And not only is Trump fulfilling his promises to all of you, the American people, even fake news CNN, our friends, they've pointed out Trump has remade the American electorate. Republicans are now surging in the polls. Democrats are hitting record lows. Congressional Democrats, one poll now at a near 22% approval rating. And Americans of all walks of life are finally coming together. Remember, all that unity that Joe Biden promised, well, President Trump is actually delivering on that promise. Now, even Teamsters President Sean O'Brien, the Republican Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, well, they've buried the hatchet 2 years after this wild confrontation. Take a look.
If you want to run your mouth, we can be two consenting adults. We can finish it here.
Okay, that's fine. Perfect.
You want to do it now?
I'd love to do it right now.
Well, stand your butt up then.
You stand your butt up.
Oh, hold on. Oh, stop it.
Is that your solution every poll?
No, sit down.
I love a good fight, hockey fight, politician fight, whatever. Anyway, coming up, both Senator Mullen and Sean O'Brien, who you saw there, will be joining us with more on how President Trump is uniting the country. Also tonight, buckle up, our old friend, famed Democratic strategist James Carville. He will be here. Democrats, they'd be smart if they listen to people like him. I can predict with a pretty high degree of certainty they are definitely not likely to do so. Needless to say, we have a lot of questions about the sad state of affairs in his own party. First, why do they keep humiliating themselves in public? This morning, 5 Democratic lawmakers showed up in front of the FBI headquarters in D.C. for a pathetic-looking protest against Kash Patel. And after shouting into a microphone to a non-existent audience, Kash Patel was easily confirmed. He is now the FBI director. Mark my words, Kash Patel, he is the guy that will restore the FBI to once again become the world's premier law enforcement agency and eviscerate the Bureau's political weaponization. The left was always powerless to stop this nomination. But like every other performative stunt we're watching in D.C. from the Democratic Party in the past few weeks, this morning's protest was pointless. It was sad. It was pathetic. So what are the Democrats thinking? Take a look.
I'm going to try out a new chant for you, all right? How about this one? Hey, hey, RFK, hands off the FDA.
We do have to, I don't swear in public very well, but we have to Trump.
Elon Musk is seizing the power that belongs to the American people. We are here to fight back.
We'll fight against Doge. We'll fight Elon Musk.
You get your musty hands off of our money, or put a mouse down. You mustard moon.
I say Trump. Donald Trump and Elon Musk.
We will win. We won't rest. We won't rest.
Welcome back to the 1960s. Instead of trying to find common ground, work with President Trump, Democrats, they're just throwing these weird temper tantrums and chanting and opposing everything that Donald Trump's doing and saying. You know, no matter what, as I said last night, if Donald Trump cures cancer, they will still hate him. A vast majority of Americans want Donald Trump to secure the border, deport criminal illegal aliens. We have known terrorists, rapists, murderers, cartel members, gang members. What? Democrats are against that? Why? A vast majority of Americans want to ban men from women's sports. Democrats are against that? Why? A vast majority of Americans want DOGE to clean up waste, fraud, abuse, and corruption in the federal government. Democrats are against that. Americans want smaller, more efficient government. They want a balanced budget. They don't want to steal from their children and grandchildren. Democrats, they're screaming and yelling against these cuts. The list could go on and on. In fact, just this week, the Democratic Party's rising star, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, even came out against Donald Trump's proposal to give a portion of the DOGE savings, your money, back to you, the American people. According to Crockett, $5,000 checks, they're not going to do anything for anybody. Take a look.
Now, President Trump says he likes the idea of giving some of the savings from DOGE back to Americans as kind of a dividend. Would you support that?
Listen, he's just telling a lie. Right now, what they're going to do is say, hey, we want to give you a refund, but Congress won't let us because they already know that there's just no money for that. So, no, we are not in the business of giving out money. And honestly, I don't know what $5,000 will do for you if you are unable to find a job, because I am telling people we are headed towards a recession.
We've been in one anyway. I don't know what world she's living in. Americans, $5,000 is a lot of money. Over half the country, if they had a $1,000 emergency, they don't know how they can handle that. That's scary. Democrats hate Donald Trump. Now they hate Elon Musk so much that they're now furious about the effort to reduce waste, fraud, and abuse abroad, not even in our own country. What are they spending the money on? Their radical, Green New Deal, their woke DEI, transgender proms abroad, tens and tens of millions of wasted dollars. That's your money. That's your kids they're stealing from. Remember, it wasn't long ago. James Carville, his former boss, Bill Clinton, other top Democrats, they vowed to cut government waste and fraud and abuse and run government more efficiently. They even pledged to cut entitlements to illegal immigrants, just like Donald Trump. Let's take a trip down memory lane.
This report tells us how to cut waste, cut red tape, streamline the bureaucracy, change procurement rules, change the personnel rules, and create a government that works better and costs less.
By paying for these plans first with cuts in government waste and efficiency,
Second, with cuts, not gimmicks, in government spending.
We'll prove that we can spend the money we have in an appropriate way and stop wasting so much of it.
But over the next several months, we will be looking at every other agency and program, asking the direct question, do we really need this agency? Do we really need this program?
20 years into a period in our history where most American wage earners are working longer work weeks for stagnant wages. It is outrageous for the government to have rules and regulations which take those people's money from them and spend it on things that cannot be justified.
One of the commitments that I made to the American people was that we would do a better job here in Washington in rooting out wasteful spending.
What happened to that Democratic Party? How did they veer that far radical left? How did they manage to adopt every insane position ever proposed in Washington? Because while Democrats are chanting and they're marching and they're screaming into the void, President Trump is getting big things done day after day after day. Take a look.
We will not allow men to beat up, injure, and cheat our women and our girls. From now on, women's sports will be only for women. Waste, fraud, and abuse that's being uncovered by DOJ. They're finding levels of fraud and waste and abuse like I think nobody ever thought possible.
I want you to know that I am not a hero in this at all. And President Trump is a hero.
I'll tell you what, I think really reciprocal tariffs, those two words, reciprocal makes tariffs really fair. Here's the good news. We have the most secure border we've ever had right now. As secure and even more secure than I had it 4 years ago. And the Border Patrol's doing incredible. ICE is doing incredible.
Refreshing. Promises made, promises kept in record time. This is what you, the American people, voted for, and this is what Donald Trump is delivering on, all while the Democratic Party looks pretty unglued, pathetic, and absurd. So where do Democrats go from here? And will common sense ever return to that party?
Whoopi Goldberg says DOJ should cut funding to SpaceX because the government already has NASA. By that logic, we should also cut The View since we already have Animal Planet. All right. Thank you. Let's do some stuff. So we all know the story of Robin Hood, stole from the rich, gave to the poor. He and his band of merry men hung out in the woods, eating apples and wearing tights. It was just like that summer I spent hiking with RFK. But now another guy with a funny accent wants to do the whole Robin Hood thing right here in America. Musk is considering a DOJ dividend, tax refund check sent to Americans funded by all the money DOJ is saving us. He's giving back the money that the useless stole from everyone else. Which makes me wonder if there's even under consideration a new concept where we give 20% of the DOJ savings to American citizens and 20% goes to paying down debt?
There's even under consideration a new concept where we give 20% of the DOJ savings to American citizens and 20% goes to paying down debt.
Like the sound of that, huh? Kind of makes sense. You know, now that we've taken back all that dough our corrupt government has been wasting, why not give it to the people who earned it in the first place? Finally, my assistant won't have to moonlight in that tire factory. And it's not like you'd be getting something for nothing. That money was taken out of every paycheck you earn to pay for scientists studying shrimp running on treadmills, workshops for Ecuadorian drag queens, creating super viruses in foreign labs, and of course, making animals trans. Hell, DOJ just discovered $2 billion in taxpayer funding for a nonprofit linked to Stacey Abrams. Yeah, a nonprofit that had $100 in revenue mysteriously got $2 billion from us, and it arrived a month after Abrams penned an op-ed endorsing Biden. Talk about a payoff. I haven't seen a bribe that obvious since Brit Hume paid me to keep quiet about his tramp stamp. And what has all that money done since then? Well, it definitely didn't go to dental work. Unfair. True, what Trump's doing just seems right. If the government has been stealing from you to pay off all these frauds, why shouldn't we steal it back? But was that the point of DOJ? Doge was designed to confront a debt crisis that spells doom for this country. And it got that way because the government became a piggy bank for special interests and foreign cutouts. We also resented chipping into a leftist slush fund against our will every time we got paid. So now we want it to be our piggy bank. So much like J.B. Pritzker's pants, I'm torn. First, I want Doge to continue on its amazing war path, but I realize we need proper persuasion if you want the public to continue to support it over time. And promising thousands of dollars to Americans who've been cheated for years is a hard one to beat. I mean, the Dems are already floundering against Doge, but Doge plus a dividend? It'll be more popular than that mall tour I did with Menudo.
Yes.
So even if it may not solve the intended problem ASAP, it might end up preserving the mission long term. But it still nags me. We're $38 trillion in debt. How will this Doge dividend solve that mountain of a crisis? So I guess you could say that I'm solidly, bravely on the fence. Because we're only a month into Doge, and honestly, it's exhausting. I feel like every morning is the day after Halloween, and I wake up every morning to a bag of candy, and before breakfast, my face is already smeared with more chocolate kisses than that time I played Spin the Bottle with the Harlem Globetrotters.
Oh, my God.
Which makes me wonder, how long will the public support last when, as Trump once predicted, we grow tired of winning? Well, if there's a reward, the answer would be never. It's basically saying, hey, you've been with us so far, here's something that tied you along. Perhaps it's not exactly right. Right would be all the cuts go to preventing a full default on the debt. Otherwise, we'll face an economic crisis that would make the Depression look like a trip to Sandals with Trace Gallagher.
Oh.
Yum, yum. But while the dividend isn't right, it's persuasive. What we in the old days called a bribe. But in this case, the bribe isn't going to a bunch of greedy crooks. It's also not going to rich libs getting student loans canceled so they'd vote for a brain-dead president. It's going to you and your family as a reward for supporting a president who's unafraid to lead. And that's the problem with Robin Hood. He's not always right, but damn is he loved. Let's welcome tonight's guest. He has a holster for his blow driver. Co-host of Fox and Friends, Charlie Hurt. Blow dryer. Her name is Liz, and she'll give you the biz. Host of the Evening Edit on Fox Business, Liz McDonald. He was once the head of the PTA until they found out he didn't have kids. Comedian and host of the Jim Norton Can't Save You podcast, Jim Norton. And her mouth was once pulled over for speeding. Co-host of Outnumbered, Emily Capano. Charlie, as an astute political analyst and a new co-host of a very mediocre show.
Here it comes.
Can you do both? Can you cut the deficit, save this economy, and give a dividend?
Oh, I think without a doubt. I mean, and as you point out, it is our money, so why can't we have it back if they're wasting it on a bunch of nonsense? I think that this is the most consequential and important political fight we've had probably in a generation. And I think that, and one of the, just take the politics side of it, the fact that Democrats are forced to defend all of the things that this money is being spent on is, I think, hysterical and defines them. And it genuinely defines them. And my favorite is when they talk about something's a drop in the bucket. $14 million going to Trans Sesame Street in Africa is just a drop in the bucket. Well, for a regular taxpayer, they're sitting there going, wait a minute, I've worked my entire life and I've been taxed majorly for my entire life. And that's more than the total taxes I have paid. So all of my effort that I have put into this federal government, you're going to send to Africa for Trans Sesame Street. And that money can also be spent so much better on people in North Carolina, for example. And so I think that
I would not knock Trans Sesame Street. Ernie and Bert becoming Emma and Bertha. They were a hell of a couple. Trust me. I got the videos to prove it. Liz!
But spend your own millions on that.
Yes, okay? That is true. I should spend it myself. Liz, this Doge, is expected to expire on July 4th, 2026. I mean, is this possible that they're going to get all the work by then and we all get money back? It doesn't seem realistic to me. You tell me.
I think you're right. Honestly, I think they're going to keep going beyond July 2026. And, you know, to spend half our paychecks in taxes, and all this is blown out the back door, and we're not supposed to say a peep about it, when we have military veterans who are homeless, we have people in North Carolina living in tents, we have LA fire victims homeless now. So what really got to me today was Democrat Jasmine Crockett saying, we're not in the business of sending back people's money when she's talking about the Doge dividend. Wasn't she for reparations?
Yes.
And didn't Doge just find out, yeah, you very much are in the business of, you know, giving out money and blowing it out the back door. I just find it astounding that we've been talking, all of us have been talking about this for generations, and the fact that now Doge is finally doing it is breathtaking.
It is breathtaking. By the way, I don't mean to offend those with asthma by saying it's breathtaking. Jim.
Yes, Greg.
Jim, you have been an astute observer of economic policy going back since the Eisenhower administration.
Thank you, Greg.
When you look at Doge, do you see an arena that you would like it to target, like corrupt brothels or corrupt prostitution rings or just corrupt prostitutes?
Well, Greg, I support all three of those things. And I know that I'm now going to have to spend money to buy the African Sesame Street set. Didn't know it was so good. Yeah, I love that they're doing it. I love they're going to give some money back. Why not? I mean, because it's not like they're taking it and they're spending it all on really worthy causes and good things, and then they're taking from them. They waste it. We have no say in where it goes, and that's why people hate the government.
Yeah.
If you had some faith in the fact that, like, I don't want to be 45 or 50% partners with the U.S. government. So if I had faith in where the money was going, no one minds paying taxes to help a homeless person. No one minds.
Oh, I do, but go ahead.
Well, I was going to say help them out of the country, Greg.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Help them into the loony bin.
Yeah, exactly. Help yourself to a job, bucko. But it's when it's the garbage that they do with it that you start to hate them. If it's worthy causes and people who, like, you know, single mothers, like, I don't think people object to their money being spent that way.
Yeah, you know, Emily, without going off topic on an unrelated 15-minute story.
Are you still upset over last night?
No, I'm not upset over last night. That was an amazing dessert. Please share us your thoughts on Doge. I don't think anybody is hitting what I mean, which is like in 10 years, our country could be destroyed by debt. And that's what the whole point of Doge was. It wasn't about giving us money, even though it is our money. What say you, Ms. Outnumbered?
Look, I am no economist, but I am a tax-paying American that hates the IRS. And I agree. I hear what you're saying, and I think that it's all separate arguments. So the most persuasive argument is that the bipartisan problem is the debt, and that the most screwed we are is the long-term looming debt situation, and no amount of, like, emptying the ocean with a bucket is going to do anything about it until Doge. But the second point is that the political capital of actually having money in our pockets, that's priceless.
That's the persuasion.
Totally. Yeah. And so to me, I think that ironically, the amount of the debt is so much that it's worth saving a little bit of taking a little bit longer to get the political capital. And if you couple that with not having to pay as many taxes, like, then we ensure we make it past the midterms. We ensure that we're there for another 4 years after and then beyond. And we also ensure that this entire system of dismantling remains in place. Because at the end of the day, despite the $22 billion to Stacey Abrams and circumcisions and all the despite that, I worry that the dismantling can be somehow reconstructed. It takes time. Right now, we're just identifying where all of the toxic tumors lay. We're identifying how it's been untraceable and covered up and how corrupt the system is. It's going to take a minute, not only to root it out, but to set things right again. So I think buying that time is a good investment.
That is a great summation from our lawyer. From our lawyer on the panel, Emily Compagno. Before we go, a quick announcement. Tickets are now available for my live 2025 tour. I'll be in Indiana, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Arizona, and Texas, just to name a few states. Go to ggutfeld.com for ticket info.